everybody. So my name is Rochelle Siefkin. I am Steve's wife, and I'm going to teach the practical application to using oils today. Using oils today. So these are some common health problems that really affect a lot of people, and so I decided to focus on these. So for example, arthritis. Gives you a basic description as defined. It's rheumatic conditions. They're characterized by pain and stiffness and around one or more joints. The allopathic treatment, right? You go to a doctor and they're going to prescribe you non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. And these drugs interfere with chemicals called prostaglandins. Again, not a doctor. In the body. But basically they trigger pain, inflammation, and fever. What the doctors will tell you is they'll assign you these drugs, they will tell you to eat healthy and exercise. And of course, eating healthy and exercising is always a good thing. But you can also treat these same things with frankincense, rosemary, and marjoram. You apply on location, you can add it to a warm bath, you can diffuse it. There's different ways that you can take it in depending on what you're doing. One of the things we're seeing a lot in schools today, as my husband mentioned, we are both teachers. ADD, for example, attention deficit disorder, or ADHD, attention hyperactive disorder. It's people that have trouble paying attention. They have difficulty controlling impulsive behaviors. They're overly active. They talk a lot when people are teaching, and they have no cure. It is best treated with a combination of medication and behavior therapy. Things like amphetamine stimulants and non-stimulants, antidepressants, depressants, blood pressure medicines. You can also treat it with vetiver, Roman chamomile, lavender, and mandarin. I think it's really funny if you look in those essential oil books about certain oils and you look up vetiver, it has two uses. And I thought it was funny because the two uses are ADHD and termites. I guess they can both be pests. I don't know. But there you go. Just some fun with that. So autism, they're going to give you certain things. There are oils that handle that. Cancer. And of course we mention this because it is everywhere. So many people we know and love have struggled with cancer. And it's essentially a disease which cells in the body grow out of control. They are warped in a way. They're not acting the way they're supposed to. And they'll offer surgery, chemotherapy, hormonal therapy, biological therapy, radiation therapy. This is the chemo and radiation. My father's going through some of this right now. And, and yet there are things, again, like oils that can help with that. Clove, frankincense, geranium, lavender, myrrh, oregano, rosemary, and sandalwood. You can apply on the location. You can use the reflex points. Some of these may need a carrier oil, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. Diabetes as well. There are certain oils that treat all these different things. So there are certain side effects. This came up earlier with drugs versus our oils. These are some of the common side effects. It may cause pain or nausea. Drugs can cause sterility or infertility. They may cause anxiety, fear, and depression. They may cause weight gain and high blood pressure. And they'll sometimes put you on a medicine to treat one thing and it causes other side effects. And then they have to give you more medicines. It may cause heart, kidney, and stomach problems. It may cause gas with oily, spotting, and anal leakage. These are real side effects to drugs. These are. They may cause amnesia and hallucinations, which you may want if you have anal leakage. Anyways, it may cause loss of sense of smell. The ringing in your ears, blurred vision. It may cause colored urine. It may cause strange sleep behaviors, night terrors, performing activities while sleeping. This was a big thing with a drug that had come out a few years ago. People were sleepwalking, they were eating, they were making phone calls, they were driving, they were having sex, all these things while they were asleep and having no knowledge of it. But look at the side effects for the oils. It may cause unwanted pleasant smells. Maybe you don't want to smell good. It may cause unwanted fresh breath. It may cause some unnecessary extra money in the bank and make room in your medicine cabinet. Now, who wants that? It may encourage the undesired increase of physical touch in the form of massage. Maybe you don't like massages. It may give an unwanted good night's sleep. It may spoil your medical leave. You might have lack of pain, lack of migraines, etc. They will result in being healthy enough to go to work. I'm sorry. It may cause improved memory and senses, which destroys your excuses to not buy gifts for birthdays and anniversaries. You can't say, I forgot. It may cause clear, smooth skin, which would create an unwanted, busy social life. Maybe you don't like to date. Basically, the oils are safe and free of adverse side effects. Like, we're having fun with a lot of this. The truth is they are basically safe with and free of almost all side effects, right, when they're used properly, with the rare exception of someone that has an allergic reaction to, one of the oils. All joking aside, it's important to remember that essential oils are very powerful and they should be used with caution, especially when being applied to pregnant and nursing women, to infants and children, and to the elderly. They are, you have to be cautious with these things. So, how do you use oils today? Because this is the big question we get when we talk about oils. People want to know, where do I start? What do I do? How do I start using these? And the simple fact is that you can take the oils, you can look at their uses, and then you can replace what you would use them for, these medicines. For example, lemon oil. It cures dry or sore throat, it's an antioxidant, and it's a detoxifier. You can replace, therefore, your chloroseptic and your sucrets. Peppermint. Now, peppermint is probably the oil I think that has almost the most uses out of all of them. I mean, it is just a really widely used oil. It is good for so many things. But you can specifically use it for things like mouthwash, cooling the body. I had a friend who used to get hot flashes, and she would make this peppermint spray that she would spray on, and she would just say it would bring her temperature down very quickly. Headaches. So it can replace your aspirin, your Listerine. Lavender acts as a burn cream, soothes or irritated skin, calms you, takes care of bee stings, bug bites. So you can get rid of your burn cream, which I carry a lot of because I burn myself often. Preparation H, Blistex or Vaseline. Tea tree oil, skin blemishes, acne, rashes, healthy scalp and hair infections, can replace your Neosporin, your Selsun Blue, your Clearasil. And I'm not degrading any of these products. They generally work for what you need them to work for. What we're saying is if you wanted to find a way to use oils to replace the medicine that you have, you can do it. In most cases, there's an oil to replace it. Oregano treats your immune support, your GI health, warts, and canker sores. It is a very strong oil. It can replace your compound W. Thieves, Fighting 5. These are different blends, and I'll talk more about them in just a moment, but they support your immune system. There's not really a drug that we offer that really supports your immune system. People have to go to natural remedies for that. Frankincense, as Steve mentioned earlier, often enhances a lot of the other oils. You can treat things like minor cuts and bites, sores, coughs, asthma, immune support, moisturizer, wrinkles. And so again, it can replace your Neosporin, your Robitussin, your wrinkle cream, etc. Oils typically should be stored in a cool, dry place. If you want them to last as long as they can, they will last a really long time if treated properly. So here's just some fun ones. Acne, blisters, burns, allergies, and bruises. You can see just a few of the oils. You can also see that most of these, with time with the oils, we apply them just directly on whatever the issue is. Colds, cooling oils, depression, energy, gas and flatulence. And you'll see some of these oils will treat multiple things. You can see lemon in a few of these, lavender in a few of these as well. So you can cure both your gas problem and your depression, all with lavender. Good to know, right? Headaches, insomnia, memory, pain, and stress. Now, some of these were originally, it was like applied directly on the skin. On these ones, you started to see more of the diffusers. And you can see that these can be diffused, they can be inhaled, they can apply on location. And there's, of course, different places. We talked about the reflexology. We'll talk about it again. And there's all sorts of carrier oils. The carrier oils are pretty amazing. I've got some different examples of them here. A lot of people will just use coconut oil or an olive oil because that's what they kind of have on hand. But there's a lot of benefits to the carrier oils themselves that also help enhance the essential oils. For example, almond, as a light aroma, contains vitamins. It helps dry skin. So if you're trying to treat dry skin with oils, then you might want to use that particular carrier oil to enhance the effect. Avocado, light aroma, contains vitamins, dry skin. Some of these do quite a lot. Rosehip oil, for example, contains fatty acids, contains vitamins, absorbs easily, and also deals with dry skin. Most of the oils are going to help with dry skin. A lot of them do. So you can find what works for you. But again, if you have an allergic reaction to, say, avocado, I wouldn't use that carrier oil. You have to know yourself. You've got to know, so you want to be cautious the first time you're applying oils, if you haven't used something, just in case. So a carrier oil is basically a vegetable oil that is derived from the fatty portion of a plant, usually the seed, nut, or kernels. So our oils are coming from the leaves, and the carrier oils derive from different parts of the plant. So that's why it works together, is you're getting more parts of that plant. Carrier oils on their own have different therapeutic properties. I showed you that a second ago. They can revitalize and rejuvenate hair and skin. They can reduce signs of eczema and fight the effects of aging. They can tone and tighten the skin. They can heal scars, burns, sunburns, and stretch marks. They contain UV protection. And the choice of the carrier oil will depend on what therapeutic benefit you're looking for. A carrier oil is used to dilute essential oils before they're applied to the skin. So they are diluting the essential oils. At the same time, they are actually helping to carry the essential oil into the skin and adding to the effect. I'm going to address that in just a second, but there's some oils that they call hot oils, and that's where the carrier oils really come into play. Essential oils do evaporate. So if you can dilute the essential oil with a carrier oil before applying it to your skin, then the carrier oil will help prevent the essential oil from evaporating. So this is the Thieves. This is kind of an interesting story behind some of these oils. Steve talked about the oil of joy earlier. This is a blend that has sort of a story behind it. It is said, once upon a time, during the time of the Black Plague, that there was a group of thieves from Marseille who were breaking into the homes of the victims of the plague and stealing all their possessions. Remember, they would put up these signs saying, like, plague, stay away. And as their story grew, many came to believe that the thieves were of spiritual nature because they were able to steal from these victims, from the homes and the bodies of the deceased victims without catching the plague. It took several years, but when they finally caught and tried them, the judge questioned their ability to do this. How did they resist such a strong plague? The four thieves used their remedy of essential oils to heal from the plagues as a leverage for a lesser sentence. That's how the story goes. The ingredients to their oil was as follows: cinnamon, clove, eucalyptus, lemon, and rosemary. And these ingredients do vary slightly from different versions of the story. And different oil companies will make different versions of this. And I've seen some of them, for example, that instead of using lemon, will use orange as a base, different things like that. But it's kind of an interesting story. But here's why that blend worked. Because those oils right there contain these following properties. They're an antiglycic, antibacterial, anti-cancer, anti-catarrhal, antidepressant, antifungal, anti-infections, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antioxidant, antiparasitic, strong antiseptic, anti-tumor, antiviral, disinfectant, immune stimulant, and a purifier. So you can see why putting these on, would, if this is a true story, would allow these guys to possibly go in their homes and not catch the plague if they had covered themselves with this. So how do you apply it? All right, this is a common question that we get. You see in Psalms 133:2 that it's a precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard that was down to the skirts of his garments. Topical. It was a topical application is the process, of course, where you directly apply it on the skin. Hair, mouth, teeth, nails, or mucous membranes. This is called applying it neat without a carrier oil. And you can, with some of these oils, just apply it directly on the issue. And most often than not, that's where the problem is. It's opposite of taking that shotgun approach to certain ways of healing. It's like, well, there's my problem, I'm just going to fix it there. So direct application applies directly on the area of concern. Typically, you're only doing 1 to 3 drops. You don't have to bathe yourself in this stuff. The fastest absorption is feet, ears, and wrists. Why? We go back to that reflexology stuff we talked about a few minutes ago. With children, you should certainly dilute this with at least a tablespoon of carrier oil. Where an adult can probably take it neat without too much of a problem, children, you should dilute it. Be cautious when applying them neat without dilution. Always test it first. Some oils are hot oils, and they can burn when applied neat. Here's some example of those oils. Cassia, cinnamon, citronella, clove, lemongrass, oregano, peppermint. The Thieves, or a version of that Thieves blend, and thyme. Those are all oils that can, and I've done it before. Like I had oregano, and I put it on something on my foot. It's a very strong oil. And a lot of times they will recommend using it for a few days and then stopping for like 10 days before you use it again. And no joke, it was like I was burning my foot. I think I put on something on my foot. Anyways, it was burning. And but I wasn't being smart and using I wasn't using my carrier oil. I learned my lesson. All right, massage. You can massage it in the stimulation of muscle, skin. If you've ever been to a masseuse, they'll bring oils out. And they're using oils as they're working stuff into your skin. They are generally using this. And when massaging a large oil of the body, you can dilute the oils by 15 to 30%. Not encouraging you to do a ton of massage without making sure you're using the techniques properly. You don't want to injure anybody. The Hebrew mashak means to rub to oil, that is to anoint, also to paint, anoint, and paint. And you can see how that would fit with like the massage. Reflexology or reflex therapy is the method of applying oils to points or nerve endings in the feet and the hands. Even perfumists know this. They'll tell you the certain points on your body in order to put perfume because it enhances the smell, it enhances what you're doing. The idea of using reflexology is everything in our body is connected. With a chiropractor, everything's connected to your spine. God's done the same thing with our hands and our feet. And we can apply that knowledge. This is a bigger picture of what you saw earlier. And again, depending on what you're doing, what you're trying to heal, you can use a certain part of the ear. And even I had my hair done earlier, and she said to me, she goes, oh yeah, I use reflexology when I'm doing people's hair. She's like, without them even knowing, she'll touch a certain part of the ear or a certain part of the head and put just a tiny bit of pressure on it in order, again, to kind of touch on those pressure points and stuff that relieve certain things. And I didn't know she did that until she mentioned it. You can see the hands as well. As Steve mentioned, the thumbs, they're connected to the head and the brain. You have thyroid issues, bladder issues, hip and thigh, kidney. You can find that here. So maybe you're like, I'm not sure exactly where my kidney is. Well, maybe you can find it on your hand easier, on the spot on your hand, and you can just apply it right there. On the feet, you have basically the same things. The arm and shoulder, the spleen, the liver, the kidneys, small intestines, brain and head. For some reason, that's your little pinky toe that ran all the way home. Anyways, neck, lungs, etc. There is auricular therapy. It's a method of applying oils to various points on the rim of the ears in order to effect changes on internal body parts. Compresses. We can make a compress. You get a basin, and I remember actually doing this as a kid. I don't know if you guys remember this, but you would get a basin. They would put hot water in it, and my mom would put a couple drops in it, and then you'd have stick your head over it and you'd breathe it in. If you guys remember doing that. You can do that with, you can make these compresses. You can also put it on, mix it in with water. Water seems to have an effect where, again, you can use a couple drops in a bathtub, and it has a really nice effect, and it seems to spread the oil and make it carry farther. In any case, you can get a basin and you can do certain things like that. And then you can, of course, make compresses out of it, or you can just kind of sit and breathe it in. Baths, see, I just mentioned that. You only need 3 to 6 drops of oil in a bathtub for the desired effect. And I used to do this when my kids were little sometimes. It was like, as you're trying to calm them down for bed, put a couple drops of lavender, which has a soothing effect. It's why so many of the kids' baths and shampoos have that lavender product mentioned in it. Aromatics. Aromatic application involves inhaling either a fine mist of the oil or a vapor of volatile aromatic components that have evaporated from the oil. Proverbs 27:9 says, "Ointment and perfume rejoice the heart. So doth the sweetness of a man's friend by hearty counsel." So we see ointment and perfume. Hebrew, the word is, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but it's a fumigation, a sweet incense or perfume. This is where the diffusion comes in. A nebulizing diffuser is the easiest way of putting a fine mist of the whole oil into the air for inhalation. This is great for, again, depending on what you're trying to heal or what you're trying to do. If you're trying, like colds, this works really, like where do I put it on my body to treat a cold? Maybe my lungs, different things like this. I can sit and put it in the diffuser and I can get it, I can inhale it, and it kind of gets in my whole body. When diffused, the oils will remain suspended for several hours to freshen and improve the quality of the air. They are often antiviral, antibacterial, and antiseptic properties that kill bacteria, and they help reduce fungus and mold. How do you clean your vents? If you're not hiring a company to clean your vents, maybe having a diffuser in the air helps move through and clean some of your air systems. Direct inhalation. Simplest way to inhale an aroma or affect the moods is to simply sniff it. Just kind of smell it. I've worked this really well with like the Breathe Easier when I've had a cold. I put it on my hands and I just sort of, even with the anxiety ease when I do that. So it also affects your moods and emotions. So while I do it with the Breathe Easier because it clears out my senses when I'm sick, I can do it, it also does it, like the anxiety ease really quickly calms me down. So it works both. You can breathe, you only need to put 1 or 2 drops. This is not like a very expensive kind of way of doing this. Cloth or a tissue. Put 1 to 2 drops on a paper towel or a tissue or a cotton ball. I've done this in my car. Like hold it close to your face and inhale. Or put it in a basin and a compress, put it across your forehead. Stir the water vigorously. Just lay a towel on top, saturate it, wring it out, and just kind of, put it on. Hot water vapor. I mentioned my mother having us inhale through when we were sick. Vaporizer or humidifier. I have a humidifier and there's a spot there where it says add drops of oil. And so a lot of them come with it now. Fan vent or a cotton ball. I mentioned I do this in my car. I can put it on a cotton ball and just like stick it in one of my vents and it blows for quite some time. It's actually really nice. You can make a perfume or cologne out of it. I'll probably embarrass my husband, but we were at a feast one time and we were going to like one of those parks where they have all the, the go-karts and all those kinds of things. And right before he walked in, he put some of the Thieves on and he goes up to like pay for our tickets. And the lady goes, your cologne is wonderful. Where did you get that from? And he's like, oh, and he's like, oh, it's an essential oil. I don't want you guys to get me sick. But he smelled really nice doing it. Internal. So this is a tricky one. And so I'm going to mention this and talk about it and give kind of a few caveats with it. Internal is the process of consuming or otherwise internalizing essential oils into your body. The FDA has approved some essential oils for internal use and given them the designation of GRAS, generally recognized as safe for human consumption. Here's the thing though. The Alliance for International Aromatherapists do not endorse internalizing oils. Whether you take it orally, vaginally, or rectally, they are not recommended by healthcare practitioners that are trained at an appropriate clinical level. They believe an appropriate level of training must include chemistry, anatomy, diagnostics, physiology, formulation guidelines, and safety issues regarding each specific internal route. This is not something you should just, it is different to put something on a boo-boo versus ingesting something directly into your stomach. Generally, I've noticed people as well, like when they take an oil bottle and they decide to, put it in their mouth, they have no idea how many drops they're swallowing. It is really something you want to be careful with. So we say that, and of course I'll get to that in a second, but if you are going to internalize it, these are the ways that you can generally do it. You can place a drop or two of essential oil under your tongue. And again, you're talking 1 drop, maybe 2. You do not need a lot. Capsules. One of the companies sells these little veggie caps, and they're empty capsules, and you can put a couple drops in them, and then you can swallow it. Beverages. If you have ever, like sometimes we'll run out of peppermint creamer and we'll go to put, you can put a drop of peppermint oil and like 1 drop is enough of like this much peppermint creamer. So again, be cautious with that. Place 1 drop in 1 to 4 cups of rice milk, almond milk, or water before drinking. Cooking, again, add 1 drop or less. You can literally take a toothpick and like touch it in there and touch it into your dish to get some of that same flavoring and seasoning, and then stir it into your food, and it adds it because you don't want to overpower. Okay, you can insert it vaginally, you can insert it rectally, you can read that if you're really interested in that, you can research it up and look at it. But again, it's a different way of taking it into the body, and it takes it at a much higher level. Really, you want to raise your hand on this one? Yeah, go ahead.
So, no. So we had the Passover, and we had frankincense in the oil.
Yes.
Is that just like how much frankincense did you put in that?
So I only put about a drop per plate of oil.
And you can taste it.
Yeah, that was really yummy.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all you need. And so we put like 1, and because again, you saw that in the Old Testament. Steve will address that.
Well, I think that's why they give the caution, because it's powerful. If you dump a bottle in, that's going to be dangerous.
Yes.
But if you're smart to use 1 drop, I don't worry about it. I'll use peppermint to clear up my sinuses. She'll tell you more than almost anything. And I'll just put a drop in my mouth. It's strong though.
It burns.
It does, but it's strong. So you got to just be cautious, because they put warnings for a reason. You're dumping a whole bottle, not realizing it seems like just a little bit, but it's a lot. It's very strong.
We've had, go ahead.
Tea. How does that work?
Well, tea you've got to be careful with as well, because the heat of the tea could actually get rid of some of the health properties that you're looking for. So not necessarily recommended. Again, it's so much simpler rather than take it that way. The way the Bible continually addresses it is to just put it directly on the issue. So if you want to take lemon because you're having problems with something in your throat, it might be better to just apply it directly on your throat. And again, you're still only talking about one drop or so. How should oils be used in the church today? Probably not like this. Although this is generally how we see them used. Maybe more like this. Right?
I've been very frustrated with this, because I've had people in churches talk to me and specifically say, oh, you've got this issue or whatever. I remember recently with having to use lots of the
hand
alcohol
sanitizer
for my hand sanitizer. I got dried skin like crazy. And come on up to the front of the church and let's anoint you with oil. My first question was, what oil? What do you mean, what oil? What do you mean? They just didn't understand the concept of, let's find out what oil we should use. Truthfully, I was already using oils. But I think the church needs to be thinking along these lines of, let's pick the right oil when we're anointing someone so it actually makes sense. Right. Just a random carrier oil that doesn't have any, real benefit to what you're trying to deal with doesn't make any logical, practical sense like we were talking about earlier. That's kind of the point to this slide.
No, very good. Yeah, I've had that too. People, you've got oils on you. I need an oil. I'm like, what oil? I don't care, whatever you have. I'm like, okay. What are you trying to treat, right? As Steve constantly points out in his teaching is that our Creator was intelligent in how he handed us and asked us to do things. And so it is with that intelligence that we should also follow through on those things, that we can use our brains. So within the church, we should teach about the oils and their role through Scripture. I haven't heard a whole lot of sermons on this. You can order a set of oils, a diffuser, and a good book explaining the specific use of oils. Alternately, you can have a group of people within your church that are familiar with the uses, and they can lead a ministry of healing and sharing the use of oils. There was a woman at our church that used to do this. And she's moved, but when she found out you were sick with something, she would approach you with a homemade blend. And she would say, I made this for you. And, it was pretty amazing. I had a friend whose husband was in he was dirt bike riding. Anyways, got in a pretty severe accident, and he wasn't sleeping. She's like, he's in so much pain and he's not sleeping. Well, she started using the sleeping oils and started just diffusing them, and she said the first night he slept through the night. So it is amazing. My daughter used to sleepwalk, and she would just walk, it was so cute, because she would come up and find me in the middle of the night, and she was totally asleep. One time she came up and just booped my nose in her sleep. So I went ahead and started putting a diffuser in her room with the sleeping oils, and she started sleeping through the night and stopped sleepwalking. So these have a lot of benefits to them. Within the church, we can offer the laying on of hands. Anointing of people, that's great. We should do that. But maybe we keep in mind that the laying on of hands is sometimes is a way of manipulating the oils into the body at certain pressure points, and it's not just, I'm touching your forehead and therefore you're healed. Pray for the oils to have the desired effect. We should always pray. When you're healing someone and you're working with somebody, there should always be prayer. Why not talk to God about what you're doing? That's what prayer means. And 5, remember that Jesus healed with therapeo. Don't expect a healing immediately. This might take days or weeks of time, so the person may continue to pray and apply oils daily. There was a gentleman that we knew, and he said, look, I'm going away for 30 days. So I've got this problem. Give me an oil blend that can fix this problem. He goes, and I've told myself, this whole 30 days I'm gone, I'm going to apply this every single day. So I checked with him later, and I said, how did it go? And he said, it healed it. And this is something he'd been struggling with for years. But it wasn't that he wasn't, because he would get medicines and get different things, but he wasn't following through with consistently staying with it. So if something takes a while to show up, it's going to take a while to get rid of, generally. Don't expect immediate miraculous healing with a lot of these. You may say effects pretty quickly, right? You're cold, you're going to get your sinuses cleared pretty quick. But for some of these things, like the cyst, it took days to a week before it disappeared. There's different things that are going to respond at different levels. The stronger the problem, probably the longer it's going to take to heal it. Therapeutic grade. This is what the slide I was looking for a minute ago. There is no agency that regulates essential oils. So it's important to note that. The term therapeutic grade can mean different things from company to company. You must research your oils to make sure that they are of the purest quality. The reason this comes up is therapeutic grade is the label that they put on oils, certain oils, but there's nobody that's overseeing that. And your idea of therapeutic grade could be different than my idea of therapeutic grade. If you're looking for good oils, you want to look for how the plants are grown. Are they grown organically, on land without pesticides, chemicals, other additives? Are the plants truly the plants as advertised? There are several sort of knockoff plants that people will use because they're cheaper. And you want to make sure that they are using the correct oils for what they're doing. Are they grown in indigenous areas? It is better if these items are grown where they are indigenous too. And some of these companies will go do that. Some of them will take the plot in somebody's backyard, grow it there, and use those plants. You want to look at how they are distilled. The best process alters the plant the least, which generally means you want a cold pressed or steam distilled process. No heat, no pressure. The more you pasteurize it, right, the more pressure you put on it, the more you're going to kill the enzymes and stuff that you need for these things to work. Some cautions. Again, there is no regulatory industry for essential oils. You need to do your research. You need to be cautious of deceptive advertising. Just because a company is big or popular doesn't mean their oils are that good or that everything they're telling you is true, even if their oils are great. For example, there's some major companies out there that can use deceptive advertising. Some of these are multi-level marketing companies. And so they just have a different strategy in how they're going about putting out, selling the oils or getting the oils to the public. And some of them have created this therapeutic grade that you will see, a trademark that you will see. It's not a certification. And there's, of course, a benefit to them because that thing that says it's okay to ingest is a paid-for certification. They paid for the right to say that. A company that pays for this certification will, of course, highly promote ingestion. And when we do this teaching, we always have people that are really passionate with their oil companies. And they're like, no, my oil company would never do that. This is all really good stuff. Be cautious. There's a lot of money behind this. Not because it's better for you, but because it allows them to raise the price and gives them a different marketing angle. And they give him to drink and mingled with myrrh, but he received it not. And we've mentioned this other times we've taught this study, and people have found this really offensive. Because the only time you actually see anybody ingesting oils in the scripture was the time they tried to give it to Jesus on the cross. When they mixed it with the, and they mixed it with like the vinegar, and they were trying to give it to him to drink, and he refused it. Now, did he refuse it because there were oils on it? No, probably because it was vinegar. But the point is that we see almost no instances in the Bible of them ingesting it. And so it is something to be cautious of. Almost everything is application or aroma. Research each company, check the plant quality, distillation process, if there are additives, etc. Most companies have an explanation on their website. So we've got multiple examples of different companies here on the table. And you can find, again, what you like and what works for you. What you want to pay attention to is third-party testing. They use gas chromatography and mass spectrometry. There's a website that talks all about it, where they said after discovering in our first round of testing that you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to obtain a quality oil, we tested more companies. The reason we kind of found some of these companies was we looked at these third-party testing and we were like, oh, I had only heard of a couple companies. And then we started realizing there's a lot of good companies out there. For example, they tested tea tree. And here's a whole bunch of different companies. And these companies, all but two, were in compliance when they were tested. Aromatic International, doTERRA, Eden's Garden, Essential Oil Exchange, J&M Botanicals, Now, Windmere, right? All of these were in compliance. You can see the difference in the prices as they sort of go through, but they all worked as good oils. Sometimes what you have to be careful of, there are some, sometimes you can go and get them from like your local natural store. Sometimes they're diluted. In fact, the friend of mine I told you that she put that stuff on her hand and her thing went away. It went almost away, but she wasn't with me. So she went to the store, one of the natural stores, and bought some of that same thing, and she said it didn't work. So she actually called the company and tracked it down, and she said, oh wow, they really diluted. Whereas the stuff I had given her was just straight. It was neat. It wasn't diluted with anything, and it worked much better. So again, people get really passionate. Some people say, I've tested the oils. They don't work the same. My personal testing, they work the same. I've got different companies. But you'll see the difference in price. And that can be a real deterrent for some people. I used to say one time when I had it originally certified by different companies. And I would say, yeah. And so this top row I got from one company, and I spent $300 for these like 7 oils. And all of the rest of these I got for $300. And it was like 2 books worth. So it makes a difference, especially if the oils are all testing at the same level. And there's a few that you'll find, and other people that you'll talk to use different ones, and there are some good companies out there. That's obviously one of them. We've used a lot of their pictures here, but they're good from. Anyway, so what you should do, if you want to start using the oils, and this is one of my last slides here, you should get a good book first. Why? Because the first thing to do, there's 2 ways to go about this. You can either say, I have these issues, how do I treat these issues? And then you get a good book, or you can do an internet search, and you can find one of these good books, and you say, gosh, what issue do I have? And you can look it up, and the indexes in these things are pretty amazing. You can say, golly gee, I'm having trouble sleeping. And you say, what do I do about that? And you say, okay, let's see. I'm going to look this up, and it's going to tell me to go to which page, and it's going to tell me exactly how to treat it. And that's great. If you have a couple of specific things you want to treat, then that's a really good way to go. If you want more of like an overall, then you can get a set. And some of these companies sell like your basic medicine kit set, and you can get these. You don't even have to get them in like massive form. You're probably not, don't buy this kind of level, these sizes in the beginning. You don't know what you're going to use. Having a smaller sizes are much more practical. And then you can try out and see how you're actually going to use them. But a set like this at a company might cost $50. So they're going to go a long time. So don't worry about buying everything they have. There's no point to that. Finding what you use. And generally you're going to have your basic oils. Your basic oils that you're going to find in their essential sets are going to treat almost everything you have to treat. So you can buy a specific set though. You can say, I sent a set to my sister one time and she said, how grouchy do you think I am? Because it was like, be happy and BMS and all these other oils in it. So she laughed at me. But in any case, like this is a basic first aid set. It's going to have your lavender, your lemon, your peppermint, your tea tree, your frankincense, your ginger, your eucalyptus. It's going to have basic 5 to 10 oils in it, and that'll treat most of what you need. You should also get a carrying case, like if you want to have them, so you have somewhere to put them. I've got different versions of them. We've got these ones that, Steve puts in his backpack, I put in my purse. These big ones, yeah, they don't do that. They're better for, sitting on our counter. So again, and you carry around different oils for different purpose. The other thing I want to mention too is you can also get different blends. And I love the blends because I don't have to think about blending it myself and trying to figure out what goes where. And but even in my carrying case, I will generally have like a little rolling thing of just carrier oil because because most of these need to be refrigerated once they're open. And so I'll keep a little one in there so that if I am applying an oil with somebody or something, I can put it on so it's not neat. So if you're using blends, and blends have become a really big thing. Initially, I noticed that a lot of the companies just used like the basic oils, and now you can find stuff for, there's head ease and digest ease and breathe easier and all of these like oil of joy and oil of friendship. And those are really, really great for the diffusers. Because I don't have to think about putting different things in there and mixing it myself. I really love it. You have to be careful with the diffusers when it comes to citrus-based, that they'll start gumming up your diffusers. So you have to watch for the citrus-based stuff. But all the rest of them kind of work fairly well. And you just use regular water. They don't want you to use like special water or whatever. Again, it gumps up the diffusers. So here's we're going to end with some interesting facts because these are just kind of fun. 1 drop of peppermint is equal to 28 cups of peppermint tea. 1 ounce of clove oil. Steve mentioned the clove oil and on that oxidant chart that you looked at. So my hair lady was just telling, last time I was there about 6 months ago, she had mentioned that she had this bad tooth pain. It was really, really, so she had tried Oragel and all these different kind of remedies to sort of deal with it. Well, she had looked up or someone had told her about clove. So she said, okay, and I was in the store and I got the little bottle and I put it on. She goes, my pain went away instantly. Anyways, 1 ounce of clove oil has the same antioxidant capacity as 400 pounds of carrots, 120 quarts of blueberries, and 48 gallons of beet juice.
Wow. God.
Antioxidant.
When applied, the oils are used by your system within about 20 minutes. So it has a very quick effect. It moves within your whole body within about 20 minutes. When you love, this is interesting, when you love or hate the way an oil smells, it could be an indication that your body actually needs that oil. Isn't that kind of interesting? Because people will be drawn to certain oil smells. Like I love the Anxieties, it's what's currently in here. Has more of like a cedar wood, like a deeper. But some other people are like, oh, I love like the jasmine and the those sorts of things. Did you know that there are over 1,035 biblical references to essential oils? If you add up the number of times the Bible uses the words like anointing oil, incense, ointment, spices, perfumes, odors, sweet savors, aromas, fragrances that are applied, oils are implied, you get about 1,035 verses in the Bible. Did you know that it takes at least 60 roses to make 1 drop of rose essential oil? Most of these are really pretty reasonably priced, but you'll get a couple of them and they're like this small little bottle. And then, what did I put it? They're over here. There's these small little bottles and they're like $40. And you're like, how is that? Well, this is why. Because it takes 5,000 pounds of rose petals are required to distill 1 pound of pure rose oil, making it one of the most precious and expensive oils in the market. Essential oils have the capability to heal at the cellular level. Essential oils are regenerating, they are oxygenating, and they are an immune defense system properties of our plants, which is why they work for us. If you use a glass spray bottle and you spray lemongrass or peppermint, make sure to dilute it, around the base of your house, around the floorboards, around the doors and windows, it'll keep out bugs and spiders. Most essential oils are high in antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral properties. This makes them an excellent addition to your home cleaning preparations. Oils that are best for cleaning, like when I clean my carpets, I add like lavender or lemon oil and stuff like that when I'm cleaning my carpets, because why not? Lemon, grapefruit, eucalyptus, peppermint tea tree, lavender, and rosemary. And it's why so many of your cleaning products will be advertised with one of these products in there. Our toothpaste, our shampoos, all of these things will say tea tree and peppermint. There's a reason for that. It's not just because they smell pretty. If you enjoyed this presentation, you can view it again at answerethmatter.org. And if you have any questions, please let us know.